Institute of Catalyst presents 23rd Catalyst Monthly Seminar, scheduled for the 28th of November 2025 at 8 p.m. and it will be held on Zoom. This month, we are honored to host a distinguished guest. She comes from one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Our guest for this month is Professor Karen Ottewell from the United Kingdom. She is a faculty member at the prestigious University of Cambridge, holding the following positions: Acting Director of the Language Centre, Professor of Contrasted Rhetoric and Written Articulacy, Director of Academic Development and Training for International Students, ADTIS, Fellow and Tutor of Lucy Cavendish College, Senior Esquire Vidal, Executive Member of University Council for Languages, EAP. This month our guest speaker Professor Karen Ottewell will talking about bridging cultures in education, lessons from teaching international students at Cambridge.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed for the invitation. It's lovely to be invited to speak to you about some of the things that happen here at the university. So that wonderful little video at the start gives you an overview of my role here at the university. But I thought before I say a little bit about the Language Centre, and then in particular the question or the topic that I was set for this evening and to speak to you about, so bridging cultures, lessons from working with international students from around the world here at the university. I thought I'd start with a little introduction to the university and how international it is, and then something about the language centres, so where I work in the university, and then specifically addressing that question of bridging cultures and what the advantages are of working in an institution that is so international. So as I said then, I work at the University of Cambridge, where we are privileged to have students and staff members from all over the world. It is truly a privilege to have so many people from so many different countries of the world, speaking so many different languages, studying so many different disciplines. We have around about 10,000 students at undergraduate level and 10,000 students at graduate level, so those doing postgraduate degrees. And in the undergraduate level, so those doing their first degree here at the university, we have around about 20% of those are from countries other than the United Kingdom. At postgraduate level, though, that number is a lot higher. It's around about 70% of the postgraduates at the university come from countries other than the United Kingdom. This also applies, however, when we look at the academic staff at the university. The university has around 10,000 staff in total. That includes academics, but also kind of assistant staff members and others. And of the staff at the university, we also have around 50% that come from all over the world. So it is hugely international, which is an amazing place to be. And each year, and if you're interested, you can have a look on the university website. We publish the numbers each year as to where the students come from, which parts of the world they come from and what they're studying. I think at the last publication of this, which would have been in November last year, we had 140 countries represented at the university, which is an amazing number. Admittedly, some countries have quite a few students represented here. I think the top country, which has been for numerous years, is China, but that's also, of course, because China is really quite a populous country in itself as well. Then it usually, I'd have to check the figures, but it usually goes down then to the United States and to Germany and to India, and then to other countries. And some countries, we may only have one student from that country. I can remember when I was looking a few years back, we had one student from Bhutan, one from Laos, but 140 countries. So it is an absolute phenomenal privilege, because you're always meeting people from different parts of the world with very different backgrounds, very different perspectives on life, very different educational kind of experiences, very different cultural experiences and views on things, all coming to one university. And so whilst it's a very international place, of course this is also a privilege for all of the home students, so all of those students at the university from the United Kingdom here, because they get to meet people from all over the world. So it's an amazing place in that sense. So that's a little bit of kind of the international nature of the university. Specifically then looking at the language centres, so that's the department in the university which I am the acting director of and then work within. So we have two main teaching sections in the centre. So we have what's called the Cambridge University Language Programmes, which we reduced to CULP as a short form, and that's where we teach languages other than English. So for those who want to either keep up in a foreign language, take on a new language, they may need it for research purposes, or just interest in learning other languages. We teach 18 different languages at the moment, and all of them from ab initio level, so from no awareness at all or no ability at all in the language, right up to advanced plus. Depends on the language as to the number of levels we have in there. And we have general courses, so those who just want to get a general awareness of the language. We have kind of academic courses for students who are wanting to, say, use the language in their research. So they might having to be reading, say, German texts or Chinese texts or French texts as part of their research. So they're gaining particular skill set in that language. We do courses also for specific disciplines. So many of our courses are specifically aimed at medics. So those students studying medicine at the university who may be wanting to work overseas, and therefore kind of gaining awareness in different languages as well. But they're not only kind of then linguistic in focus, they take a very communicative approach. So the focus is really on being able to communicate in that language. Of course, there's elements of grammar and accuracy and all of those embedded too, but it's really being able to communicate through the medium of that language, whichever language it is. But we also have courses specifically focusing at different aspects of culture as well. So for example, we might have French through film, for example, or Chinese through poetry. So students can also then get a very good kind of cultural awareness of that particular language as well. So that's one of the main strands of the centre in terms of foreign languages. In addition, we have resources in the Language Centre, so static resources and online, so books and CDs and also online materials for another 200 languages. Because many students at the university may be going to many different parts of the world and want a communicative ability in a language. They can make an advising appointment with us, and we can take them through the resources that we have a look at how much time they've got, what is it they're going to be using language for, all of those different things. And part of that, we also retain a database within the university because, of course, as I said, the university is very international. We have students from all over and therefore speaking many different languages. We keep a database to have kind of a conversation exchange, to put people in contact with each other who are learning each other's languages. So, for example, I offer Polish and I really want to learn Korean, for example, and we'll make sure that those two people get in touch and they can support each other learning those languages. The section then that I'm responsible for in the centre, that you kind of then, it was noted in the introductory video, is what's called ADTIS, and it's an acronym. It stands for Academic Development and Training for International Students, and that's what myself and my team in the centre focus on. And really what we're looking at doing is supporting students for whom English is an additional language, who come to study at the university. And as you'll probably gather from the percentage of students that we have here at Cambridge, we tend to be working almost exclusively with postgraduate students. So those coming on to do master's courses or PhDs with us, doctorates. And we run a range of courses for them. We have what's called a pre-sessional, so that's an intensive 6-week program that takes place in the summer. So that takes place August, September time. And the focus of that really is that we can give them a very good introduction to the university, so they can get to know the lay of the land, as it were, and get to know the university very well, get to know the city. But also during that time, the main focus is really helping them to strengthen and develop their discipline-specific communicative skills in whatever area they may be coming to study at the university. So anything from astronomy, history, land economy, education, whatever discipline they're coming to study, we're looking then to strengthen their communicative skill set, in particular in writing, simply because writing is the hardest of the 4 skills in any language, even one's first language. It's the hardest skill to gain. So particularly helping them to strengthen their written ability. And during that program, they also research and write a 4,000 word research paper in their particular field, and then do presentations on it. They attend lectures. There's a wonderful social program so that they can get to know the city. This is run by a current student at the university, so they can get a really nice student insight into it as well. And that course usually has around 60 students on it, and again from all over the world. We'll generally have 20 to 25 different nationalities on that course, so students then from the Far East, from the Middle East, from Europe, and also from Latin America. So that's a wonderful kind of then concentrated period, because they're only working with us during that period. It's before they start their official programs at the university, and it's also an opportunity for them to get to know people from all around the world as well, and also kind of profit from those different insights, those different perspectives that can give. We also run a course during the year, so an in-sessional program, and we do bespoke work, so tailored provision for departments and colleges at the university as well. So that's kind of a bit of a snapshot of where we're going. With respect to kind of then bridging cultures and the experience of working with students here at the university, one thing to note really in our foreign language programs, so in the CULT programs, the majority of the students that are on the courses are international themselves. So they're already highly kind of then able in at least 2 languages, because they'll have their first language, whatever that may be, and of course English. They will have kind of met English requirements to come into the university. So they're already very, very good in 2 languages, and they're looking to learn a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th language. The most popular language at the Language Centre for students either continuing it or picking it up from scratch is French. French is the main course. Chinese is up there as well, and German for different disciplines, but French is one of the main courses that students come into. And so we'll have students who are already bilingual at least, or maybe trilingual, coming in to learn different languages. And of course they're all working with students for whom English is an additional language in the course as well. And then we sometimes, depending on the cohort, usually it's a very international cohort, but sometimes if we have one particular linguistic group that's there, so for example, there was a couple of years ago we had a French course that was consisted of only first language Chinese speakers. So all of the students spoke Chinese as a first language. And so what we were then looking at is how we can modify, develop, strengthen, refocus our teaching to really focus on the challenges that Chinese first language speakers have, maybe kind of picking up French. One of the areas that we really looked at in that one is working on French pronunciation for Chinese speakers, because there were certain sounds that don't go across, and so we worked with our Chinese teachers and our French teachers to work together to bridge that kind of then that linguistic gap that was happening there as well. One of the other things we're doing at the moment, our teaching members of staff at the Language Centre come from all over the world as well. So we're currently developing a range of podcasts to really highlight the different kind of cultural backgrounds, linguistic insights, and the richness of different linguistic cultures and cultural backgrounds. So, for example, of our Spanish teachers at the Language Centre, they all come from different parts of the Spanish-speaking world. So we do have one from Spain, but we also have members from Latin America, because of course Spanish is a huge language there as well. So looking at podcasts and materials on how Spanish is used in different parts of the Spanish-speaking world, so as to kind of show the richness of languages and the cultural background as well. And this is something we're also looking at developing in French as well, looking at different kind of dialect forms, different regional aspects of those languages as well. Within my own kind of area, to kind of conclude, the main thing that I work with is, and I say, myself and my team work predominantly with postgraduate students, so those coming to do masters or PhDs and doctorates. And as I say, that's 70% of our students at postgraduate level at the university are international. And as I say, we have quite high English language requirements to come into the university. And so all the students coming in already speak English very well, and they have very good linguistic proficiency in the language. The one thing where there may be kind of then, I wouldn't say difficulties, but maybe some challenges, is what I've come to term rhetorical transfer. And so the main, I wouldn't say difficulties, but initial challenges that students may face when coming is not so much a linguistic aspect, so it isn't a language aspect as such. It's really kind of how their discipline argues, constructs argument, different disciplines, constructs knowledge and argument in different ways. For example, a historian isn't going to construct argument and knowledge and do research in the same way as a physicist. And that's understandable. They're different disciplines, they look at things in different ways. What's also true is different languages do that. And as I say languages, I mean that in the broadest possible sense, because you can use language in different ways to communicate in different ways. But of course, a language also has a cultural background, it has a historical background, it has an educational background, all of these different things. And one of the things that we tend to see students may have initial challenges with is they're writing very well in English, so it is the language is English, and it's clear from that perspective, but they may be using then the argumentational approach of their first language, and you see that transfer effect coming into English. So it reads like English, but it may not be constructed in the expectation that that particular language has, and in that particular discipline as well. And also at postgraduate level, we have to raise awareness for students for whom English is a first language, because nobody's kind of born with the ability to write academically, whatever your first language is. It's something you have to develop, something you have to train. And so we also work on kind of raising awareness of kind of rhetorical difference and what we expect. And looking at different rhetorical paradigms, different templates, and how you communicate. With the intention, whilst I know that the university is located in the UK, the intention is to develop the skill set in international English. We're not looking at a particular variety of the language. As you probably know, English there isn't one dominant form, there's no one standard form of the language. They're all different dialects. There may be particularly dominant forms, for example, American English, British English, Australian English, Singaporean English, many different varieties. But what we're looking at is really strengthening their skill set in international English, and this is also for first language speakers, so that they can communicate in such a way that they are readily understandable to anybody around the world, irrespective of their first language background. So they're clear, it's unambiguous, people can understand. And of course, context in there is hugely important. It's not always necessary to communicate at that level. It depends on the context. For example, if you're at a conference in China and everybody speaks English and Chinese, you can afford to mix the different paradigms in a different way, the different approaches. But if you're not, and if you're in a very international environment where English may be then a second or additional language for many people, we're kind of operating at a level where we're really focusing on clarity and lack of ambiguity so everybody can readily understand. And essentially that's a lot of what we do, is kind of really raising awareness of how to achieve that, what's involved in achieving that. And the beauty is, as I say, we have students from all over the world. I mean, it is an absolute privilege. We come from all over with all different perspectives, different approaches. And it is, of course, all through the medium of English, which is also a wonderful opportunity that everybody can share their views on different things. And so all the students, of course, learn from each other as well as to the different cultural differences, maybe the different linguistic differences, different educational backgrounds, all of these different things. And we're looking at kind of enabling them to really communicate their research at an international level to as wide a possible audience. And that's a wonderful privilege. We get to, as I say, I get enriched from meeting all of these people from all over the world and really just seeing how we can better support them so they can go on to be successful in what they've come here at the university to do, and to achieve their aims afterwards. So it isn't simply that we're helping to bridge those kind of bridges with international students, they're bridging them amongst themselves and really becoming a lot more interculturally and multiculturally aware, and indeed multilingual whilst they're with us as well, which is an amazing thing. So there's a bit of an insight into the things we do here. I'm open to any questions or queries or comments you may have on any of that.
Professor, thank you indeed. I do thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation to be our guest of honor in this.
You're most welcome. It's a privilege to be invited.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much. Before we move to the students, I have a question for you, Professor, because you've impressed me by the huge number you've mentioned. Professors, researchers, students and staff at Cambridge University. So what is the key behind attracting this huge number of people to be like part of this huge university?
Oh goodness. One of the questions, when part of the role that I do as well, which I didn't mention, is part of admissions to the university. So I also do English language assessments for entry to the university, which is a wonderful privilege because I get to then chat to people online through Zoom, and whilst ostensibly we're looking at kind of English language ability and just looking how they can communicate in speech, ultimately it's a wonderful opportunity to have a chat with them about why do they want to come to the UK and specifically Cambridge. And what increasingly, or the common answer I get, is that people have known about the university. I mean, it's an old institution. It's been around for a few hundred years. It was founded in 1209, so 1209, so it's over 800 years old. And if you might not have heard of the university, you might be aware of other parts of the university. So Cambridge University Press and Assessment. So it's got the oldest publishing house in the UK. Cambridge University Press is the oldest, that dates from the 15th century. And if you've been taking any exams that might have been arranged by either Oxford and Cambridge or Cambridge itself, Cambridge Assessment, so any of the English tests or other courses or A-levels, people may have heard of it from there. And then I think because the place is it's a wonderful mixture of old and new. So we've got buildings that are from the 12th century, but we've also got really cutting edge laboratories and other things that have happened here. So the latest one is Cavendish 3, which is the third physics department that's just been built and has just been opened. And so I think of over those 800 years, lots of things have happened at the institution. I have to say it does look very nice. I'm not saying that's a reason to come here, but we've got the old, and of course since kind of Harry Potter became famous, I often get the comment that it's kind of very Harry Potter-esque. And of course it is, like Oxford, it looks a little bit like that. But I think it's also because of the the range of courses that we do, the level of research that students can do here, and of course that the academics and the researchers that we have here that many students want to come and work with, pursue their own research and develop. I mean, it is really a privilege to have so many people who want to come here, and we can't take that for granted. Just because it's old doesn't mean necessarily people want to come. Students have to feel that they're getting something beneficial from being here, and it's useful for them in what they want to achieve in life as well. So I think it's a mixture of loads of different things. I don't think there's one particular thing that it will be. I mean, it's been around for a long time, so it's got a bit of a heritage. These days it does look like Harry Potter. It looks a little bit like Hogwarts. But I think it's the quality of the students, the quality of the courses, the research that's possible, and essentially the number of spin-off companies and contributions that the university makes that people just want to be a part of. And I have to say, with all the students who come here, and certainly when I see them in the summer in our programs, I always say that Cambridge is only ever as good as the people in it, and the students are part of that.
Indeed.
Everybody who's a member of the university makes it what it is.
Indeed.
And in some years it might be better than others.
Indeed.
But it's the people that are in it that make it work.
Thank you indeed, Professor. Thank you very much for the answer. Let me move now to the students. So yes, please. You just raise your hands.
Excellent.
Your hands. Yes, Sumaya, please. Sumaya bin Masoud.
Oh, there were lots of hands coming up.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay.
Yes, Sumaya, just a minute. Yes, please.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. I hope you all doing well. The first thing I would to express my gratitude to you, sir, Mr. Isawi Tayyip. Thank you for this valuable seminar.
Thank you.
And I also extend my sincere thanks and welcome to the director of Cambridge University, Mr. Karam.
Cambridge University Language Center. Yes.
Yeah, I don't run the university, I'm afraid. That's our Vice Chancellor. I'm not that important.
I wish them. Mr.
Yes.
Kerr, thank you for joining us this night. It's really an honor for us to have you with us and to have you accept the Catalyst Institute invitation. Your presentation was indeed excellent and very informative. I have just one question, which is in light of your experience at Cambridge, what do you consider the most effective practices for ensuring that culturally diverse students feel equally included in academic discussions? And thank you.
Oh, goodness. You've only got one question, but that's a big question. That's a big question. Thank you. Thank you. I think that the university, I think as all universities should be aiming to do, is we want to be inclusive. We are very international, and I think because we've been international for quite some time, that influences or has helped shape how we approach things. And how we do, and everybody who comes here, the university spends a lot of time and effort in selecting students to come to the university. So as I said, we have around 10,000 at undergraduate level, 10,000 at postgraduate level, and for each year we're accepting around, say, 3,000 in each of those. In each year, however, we have around 25,000 applications for those 3,000 places. And the university at undergraduate level interviews all the candidates that it wants to kind of potentially make an offer to. In fact, that's happening for undergraduates here in the next couple of weeks. And graduates may also be interviewed, but they have to do a very thorough application. And so we're very kind of not selective as such in that sense. This isn't kind of wanting to pick a certain set. It's wanting to select those students who would really benefit and profit from being here. And then once they get into the institution, the university really cares that they can make the very most of being here. Everybody's voice is important. They're here to kind of then, yes, they're here to attend the courses or to work with the lecturers on whatever area of research they're doing. But what is key at all stages of that is their voice, their perspective, their contribution. And at all operations within the university, be it from the central university and the departments through to the colleges. As you know, Cambridge has kind of a college structure. So the students are also in colleges, which is where it is a little bit like Hogwarts in different houses, but they also have a tutor who looks after them personally as well for pastoral matters. And it's really ensuring that that student, irrespective as to where they come from in the world and whatever they're studying, can really achieve their potential whilst being here. And if there are any issues of any nature, whatever they may be, these are hopefully addressed sooner rather than later, so we can really focus on the reason for being here, which is to achieve their aims of either getting their undergraduate degree or doing their postgraduate work. And so that inclusivity, I think, because the university is so international, is kind of embedded into that, because we just have people from all over. So everybody has a voice, everybody is involved. We want everybody to make the most of being here.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much, Professor, for the answer. And thank you, Sumaya, for your question. Let me move to Rima Naqib. Yes, Rima Naqib, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Thank you so much, Professor Ottewell, for this magnificent presentation. I truly appreciate the way you highlighted the cultural dimensions of academic communication and the challenges the international students face when creating new educational environments. Your perspective on bridging cultures through teaching is both inspiring and deeply relevant to learners like us. Considering the growing diversity in higher education worldwide, I would like to ask you, how do you envision the future of academic support for international students as global mobility continues to increase? And what competencies should educators prioritize to foster true intercultural academic success?
Oh, wow. Another huge questions. Thank you. Two very good questions. I mean, the fact of, as you say, kind of higher education is becoming so much more international, which is an amazing development. For many years, we had what used to be termed as the Big Four. So the Big Four countries where English is a first language, where many international students went. One of them, of course, is the UK, but also Australia, Canada, and the United States. And they do still attract a lot of international students. However, as you say, international higher education is becoming a lot more prevalent all around the world, which can only be a positive thing. People should have access to education all around the world. Some people may wish to travel overseas, some people may wish not to, some wish to travel further, some wish to travel closer to home. What is, however, key in all of this, wherever students are studying, is the duty of care to the students that are being admitted. And it is the institution, primarily, the host institution's responsibility to ensure that students who are admitted to that institution receive whatever support, training, additional navigation that they may need in order to achieve their aims. Some years ago, and I know it is changing nowadays, internationalization used to be kind of a short word for saying we're getting more international students. And that's a very narrow understanding of internationalization. Yes, that does make the institution more international, but it's also about how you develop the curriculum, how you reflect that internationalization as well, but also how you support those students at institutions coming from different parts of the world as well. We can't always assume that people from different parts of the world or different educational, disciplinary backgrounds will understand things in the way that, say, the host culture does. And it's a way of being inclusive, to kind of pick up on the previous question as well. Being inclusive, being supportive, and having that duty of care to the students, and to ensure that whatever is required is provided by the institution. I say that the primary focus does rest with the institution, because that's the one offering the education. But of course, students themselves have a responsibility to be aware, if they are choosing to study in a different country or through a different language, that will bring different challenges with it, and just be aware of what they may be and what they may need to kind of to prepare themselves for that as well. But the university certainly should really take its duty of care seriously in how it can do that. And so what kind of then universities really need to focus on is considering what those challenges may be, engaging with international students as to what challenges have there been, how do we need to navigate these. Students coming from different parts of the world may require different kind of support, or different kind of transitionary support, in order so that they can achieve their full potential, because that's the ultimate aim, hopefully, of any educational institution, that we're actually enabling the students to achieve that potential. And so I think it's more important than ever, now that kind of higher education is becoming so much more international in that sense, and we're getting a lot more or far more number of students going to different parts of the world to do this, that we always keep the students at the forefront, and our responsibility to those students to give them the best possible start that we can.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much, Professor. Let's now move to Dr. Lamin. Yes, Dr. Lamin, please. The stage is yours. Your question.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Lamin, yes, please.
Do you hear me, sir?
Yes, please. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your efforts. First, I would like to thank Mr. Tayyib for his efforts regarding this session, which is very important in our school. And also, I want to thank and to welcome our guest, and thank you for your participation. So,
you're most welcome.
Thank you, sir. So first, I appreciate your CV and your different roles that you have taken in your experience and your university, and I took useful information about your university from your presentation. I am also surprised by the huge number of students, and especially the international students. I learned how you give different courses and in different languages. It was about around 18 different languages that you teach. And I learned how you have difficulties about assuming or considering an international language to adopt all the different disciplines and nationalities. So for my first question is about writing aspect. You said that for your university, the writing aspect is the more difficult. It's more difficult than the pronunciation. How is this aspect is difficult? And how you can overlap these problem or this difficulty. This is for the first question.
Please, I'm so sorry, Dr. Lamin. Sorry, Professor Ottewell. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it has to be the first and last question due to this huge number of students waiting to ask. I am so sorry, Dr. Lamin. So that would be your first, or you can select the best question and you ask her the best question, Dr. Lamin. Otherwise, you can't ask two questions.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes.
So I pass to the second question. It's about the speed of teaching or the speed of educating the language. As you teach a different language, which one is I am talking about the speed. Which one is which take a court or a short a short time to teach.
You mean in terms of which language or how we do it?
Which language take a short time to
be learned,
educate,
to be learned.
to teach?
But by
To be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been research done on that, but a lot of that is going to very much depend on what the first language is. So, for example, from if your first language is English, then the harder languages to master, I'll say those. For example, Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, because you've got so many differences to the first language. The first language that we learn in the UK, or the first foreign language that we tend to learn, is French. That's also because it's geographically very close to us. And English as a language was very much influenced by French in the Middle English period. We have around 10,000 words from French, and about 30% of the language comes from Latin. And of course, then that influence goes into the Italic languages, to French, Spanish, Italian. So I don't think there's an immediately easy answer to that. It's going to depend on how close that language is to the first language.
Yeah.
That's going to give you. That's usually quicker. So at the institution here, for example, it's a little tricky to say because, of course, all the students, or the vast majority of the students, are coming with different first languages.
Yeah.
But the one that's arguably, I would say, probably closer to English, and so therefore may be quicker to kind of gain some ability in it, although of course it's going to get a lot harder as you go through, would say be French, but that's only from an English perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed.
You're most welcome.
Okay,
You're
yes.
most welcome.
Let's now move to Ilham, then Shayma, then Yusra. Yes, Ilham, please.
Okay, loads of hands.
Yes. Yes, Ilham.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Thank you, sir, for this seminar, and thank you, Professor, for being here with us. I really appreciate the effort that you put in this topic, and I would like to ask you one question as a comment. With all your experience in language teaching and academic development, what does good academic leadership mean to you, especially when guiding young people or learners?
Nice.
Wow.
Thank you.
Another fabulous question. I think a lot of academic leadership really kind of then has a lot to do with being a good teacher as well. I mean, those who work in academia are very much wanting to get the best out of the people that they either kind of then teach, or the best out of the research that they're doing. And so very much in academic leadership, or leadership in general, but within an academic environment, it's really about kind of then harnessing the strengths of individuals, helping them to realize their potential. Leadership is always so much easier if you have everybody with you, or the majority of people with you. We sometimes don't have everybody, but kind of not always. Sometimes you've got to kind of maybe be more kind of top down and say this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. But to really bring people with you and to work as a team is really kind of making sure that everybody knows what we're doing, why we're doing it, what we're trying to achieve, and also kind of working out that we're all individuals and drawing on the strengths of those individuals in order to realize the collective aims. But also reassuring the people that you work with that sometimes things go wrong, and we all make mistakes and things like that, but the buck stops, or the responsibility rests with the head of department. You might have to have some interesting conversations, but essentially it's my responsibility if it goes wrong. But we work together as a team to come together to hope that everybody achieves their potential. Very much like in a classroom, you're wanting to kind of then teach in such a way that it's as readily accessible and understandable to the students that are in the room, so that they can understand it, master it, and achieve their potential as well. So I think there's a lot of overlap. You can see a lot of overlap with that.
Nice.
But a good question.
Thank you indeed, Professor. Yes, Shayma, then Yusra, then Nada. Shayma, Yusra, Nada. Yes.
Yes, first I want to say thank you, Professor Karin, for being here with us, and thank you, sir, for this seminar.
Welcome.
So my question is, if you are advising a student who is already highly multilingual, what is the single most impactful habit or resource you would recommend to achieve true academic fluency at a world-class institution?
Oh, okay. So I'm assuming, I mean, this is in any language, presumably, or we're looking through English at this one. Is it any particular? You say they're multilingual. Are they looking for multilingual kind of this, or is it particular language we're looking at?
A particular language as English.
English, yes.
Okay. No, that's fine. I mean, ultimately, I mean, if you're multilingual, you already have a very good kind of linguistic repertoire and insight. I mean, it's a huge privilege to speak more than one language, and to speak more than one language well, because you see things from different perspectives. You can approach things in different ways. But of course, when you're kind of then wanting to strengthen or hone your skill set in a particular language to operate at that level, it's really then raising your awareness of what those expectations are in that language. And if we're looking within the academic sphere, you're going to be in a particular discipline. So understanding how that particular discipline works, how that academic community communicates, because different disciplines communicate in different ways. Science communicates in a different way to the arts, for example. So being aware of that, but also being aware of how kind of we achieve clarity in communication. And that isn't simply a linguistic feature, and indeed argument isn't a linguistic feature. It's really a content feature, but how you can harness that clarity and how it's expressed in that language. I mean, in English, for example, a lot of the clarity comes out of structure. We put a lot of emphasis on the structure, the overall structure of the text, the overall structure of the argument, how we make those connections across the argument. In many ways, we grab the reader by the hand and we walk them through our argument. The reader may disagree with us, that's a different matter, but it's our responsibility to get our point of view across clearly. Different languages, however, have different ways of doing that. And they have different, if you think of, I always ask my students, what is good writing like in your first language? Because there are different priorities that different educational backgrounds, different linguistic backgrounds place on different features. And for a lot of the time, there's going to be a lot of overlap. There's going to be very much similarity. But it's really looking at where those differences may be. And they may be slight, but they could influence how you gain that clarity in the target language, whatever that is. So I think it's raising awareness of that. But really, we become very good communicators. The best writers are more often than not the best readers and the most widely read readers as well. So kind of really raising your awareness and kind of imitating and learning from others as well. So when you find a really good piece of writing in your field or whatever you're trying to do, a lot of the time when we're reading academic work, we're reading for content. We're not particularly bothered if it's beautifully written. We're reading for whatever the writer has to say. But in order for that to be achieved, the writer has had to put a lot of work in, so you don't notice the language so much. So it is good when you find a really good piece of writing to say, spend half an hour going, how have they achieved that? What have they done to do that? And part of it is going to be language, but a lot of it is going to be how they've structured their argument, the quality of the argument, and then how they've articulated it. And it's really just raising your awareness in that, and just developing that, because we, as I say, writing is the hardest skill set of any language. But even if it's your first language, it's the last one that we develop, and it's the one that we spend a lot more time strengthening. So it's really just harnessing that and kind of incrementally taking it over into your own practice.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much. Yes, Yusra Dahmani.
Okay, so good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us today. So it's a truly pleasure to have you here. So my question is, I would like to ask you something based on my own learning. I'm really interested in learning several languages at the same time. So from your experience, is it more effective to study multiple languages simultaneously, or do you think is it better to focus on one language before moving to the next? And as a follow-up question, what strategies would you recommend for someone who wants to balance two or more languages without getting confused?
Very good questions. Very good questions. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to the first question. What you do tend to find is, depending on when you learn a second, third, fourth, fifth language, you'll always have an imprint. You'll have a main imprint of one language, or if you were brought up bilingual or trilingual, you have imprints of languages there. And as we get older, they're going to become slightly more reinforced. And so when we're moving, if we're learning another language that's very close to one of the ones that we already have a template for, then that can be we can learn it a lot more quickly. So for example, if you're learning Spanish, you can probably pick up Italian quite easily on the side. But also be aware that because they're quite similar, you may then have transfer effects going across the two. The other extreme is then if you're kind of learning languages that are very different. So for example, you want to take up, Hebrew, Russian and Korean. They're very different languages with very different heritages, so you're not going to have that transfer influence with them, but you will also, the cognitive challenge of learning three very different languages will also bring its own level of difficulty, because you're having to learn three different systems at the same time. So I don't think there isn't a right or wrong answer. Some people pick up languages much more quickly than others. Some people, it can be very natural for them to pick one up. They can also really pick up the pronunciation and the articulation very well as well. It may be if you don't have that capacity, then probably sticking to a smaller number of languages or one at a time. If you do pick them up more easily, then maybe take two or three at the same time. It also depends though on what you're learning them for. Are you learning them just so you have kind of a bit of a communicative ability in the language, so you can, say, go on holiday and do things? Are you wanting to really kind of start learning that language so you can then, say, study in that country or read in that language? Of course, when we're wanting to do a lot more in a language, we're going to have to invest more time in it. So I think there are lots of different components to that, but I think ultimately I would say, as a rule of thumb, if you pick them up really quickly and easily, you can probably do two or three at once. If you don't, I probably do them one at a time.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
But good luck. Good luck.
Thank you indeed. Yusra, thank you for your question. Let me move now to Nada Isad. Nada Isad. Please, then we move to high school students. We have two or three questions. Yes, they're aiming to be Cambridge University one day.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing you.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you.
Okay, yes, Nada. Nada?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening,
Hello.
Professor. I hope you are doing well. Nice to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us today and for being with us and sharing your knowledge and experience and providing us this great opportunity to meet this great personality.
Likewise. I'm getting to meet all of you. That's a privilege as well.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I have just a question. From your perspective, what are the most effective teaching language methods that you use them and they are still missing in our universities?
Oh, good question. Good question. Remember, in the language centre, we're teaching languages for students who want to learn a language or develop a language in addition to their main reason that they're here at the university. So it's something they're doing extracurricular. So we also, of course, have the language departments where students are going on to learn the language and literature and the culture of that language as well. Now, I'm not saying that that's a difference, but the focus of what we do in the centre is far more communicative fluency when we're doing kind of second language teaching. We're equipping students to have decent proficiency across the 4 skills, but we do focus more on communicative ability than, say, grammatical accuracy. That isn't to say that grammar isn't there, and we don't focus on that, because of course you need to have accuracy and precision in order to be understood. But we're really looking for that communicative ability is the priority. Whereas, say, if you're studying, say, German in the German department as a degree, you may spend a lot more time doing the grammar, so you can really understand how it all works, how it might be related to English, where the differences may be, and all of those different things. So I think it really just depends on what you're learning the language for and why. As I say, we tend to have a more communicative approach. That said, our students taking the course of and did a few years ago say we want to do lots more grammar of that as well. So we also built that into the programs more as additional planks into the program. So as I say, that's the approach that we take. I'm not saying it's the best approach. It fits the context in which we're delivering teaching here at the Language Centre.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much. Yes, Anya Lajmi, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. I hope everyone is safe with this weather, honestly. So I would like to thank our guests so much. Thank you for inviting, and thank you for accepting our invitation. It's truly an honor, because this is like our thing. This is like an activity, like this seminar is an activity that all of us, like all the students love, because it is truly like an opportunity for us to discover, new things, not just about the person we invite, but also the topic is coming with. So yeah, I would like to thank you again for accepting the invitation. So, like, honestly, like, if it's not too much to ask, here's my question. Would you be willing, to share a memorable story, or, like a moment involving an international student whose maybe language or like culture experience left an impression on you?
Well, there are probably loads of those. But I would say that the one that links back to what I mentioned in the opening few words I said, of looking at, say, rhetorical transfer. There was one student several years ago now. She was on our pre-sessional program. The student was from China. She wasn't in my group on the course, but I can remember her. She was very articulate, very, very good. And she was doing Japanese studies at the university with a German supervisor at a British university. So we had a whole host of wonderful kind of intercultural things going on. And her supervisor wrote to my boss at the time and said, my student was on your program, and she can't write. And that was the actual phrase, she can't write. And I was going, that can't be true. She's been here at the university for 4 years. If she couldn't write, we'd have noticed before now. And I can remember the student. She was very articulate. I couldn't imagine that there was possibly a linguistic issue at hand. Anyway, the student came along and I said, so what has your supervisor said? She was writing a chapter of her PhD on some aspect of Japanese history. And she said, well, the supervisor just said that she can't read it. And I said, okay. I said, does she give you any more information than that? And she says, no. And I said, okay, well, send me a chapter. I have a read, and we can have a chat. So she sent me a chapter. It was about 20 pages or so. And I was reading it. And from a language perspective, there really wasn't much to do. There were there was the odd mistake, but then we all make mistakes when we're writing. It wasn't the major thing. But I couldn't really work at a sentence level or a paragraph level, or even a text level. Linguistically, it was generally strong, but I could understand what the supervisor meant by saying she couldn't read it. Because I was reading this, and I can't remember exactly what it was on, but something to do with Japanese history. And I was reading it, and it was well written, but I was reading it, but I didn't know why I was reading it. Because I was just collecting a series of facts and points in this text, but without an understanding of why I was doing this. So I was reading along and going, well, okay, I've got nothing to really say with the language. And it got to page 8, I remember it being page 8, and then she'd explained what the purpose of the chapter was. And it's like, aha, now I know what I'm meant to be reading. I need to go back to the front. I need to start again at the start of the paper and read through. So it hadn't been set up at the start of the text. So I was reading stuff, but I didn't know why. And as I said, in English, we tend to, we focus a lot on structure and on logic, and we very much guide our reader through the argument. The reader might disagree with us, that's a different matter, but it's our responsibility to be clear. So I was reading lots of interesting stuff, but I didn't know why I was reading it, because the writer, the student, hadn't told me how all of this was linked. And so the student came along, and I said, basically what I've just told you, I said, from a language perspective, there's really nothing to work on. You can write, and write very well. I said, but I know what your supervisor means. I said, you don't guide the reader through your argument very clearly. I said, what you do need to do, you need to take all of your content out of this text. We need to restructure it in this way. You need to give me an introduction that tells me what you're going to do, why it's important, how you're going to do it, and give me an indication of where you're going to end up. Then you need to take me through your argument, making the connections clear across the points you're making, and then you need to conclude it at the end. And we talked through this, and she said to me, and I will always remember the phrase, and I use it in a lot of my teaching, she said to me, you want me to write like a 5-year-old? And I said, yes, but one who's doing a PhD at Cambridge. And so I didn't see the second version of this, but I did then get an email from her supervisor who said, I could read it now. And it's like, well, you could read the first version. It wasn't a language issue. There was an argumentational approach. And what we see here is that when I was talking of different linguistic cultures have different approaches to argumentation, Chinese rhetoric, for example, tends to have a lot more contextual detail, a lot more richer detail than you tend to find in argumentation in English, but the connections are looser. It's not as clear how it links together. And one system isn't better than another, they just have different priorities. And that's what I say, if you're transferring one to the other, you may find difficulties. What was very unfortunate here is that the student was stigmatized because she got feedback from her supervisor that says, you can't write, whereas the student could write, but equally the supervisor was frustrated because they got a text that they couldn't comprehend, which I can understand why, but it wasn't a language matter. And really it was helping the two of them come together, really to bridge that difficulty. As I say, we had a German lecturer with a Chinese student doing Japanese studies at a British university, and it was bridging that gap so the student didn't feel stigmatized and the academic didn't feel frustrated. And there's many stories like that, but that one's always stuck in my mind.
Yeah, that girl seemed very impressive.
And I should say, I always use the, do you want me to write like a 5-year-old? It's like, yes.
Thank you indeed. Thank you, Anya, for your question. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to mention, like, it is very rare for us to listen to somebody who's got, like, the original British accent.
That's why this is
It was a pleasure listening to you.
Well, that's very kind. It's the only accent I have, I'm afraid. But that's very kind.
Okay.
But it's lovely to meet you all, and thank you for your question.
Thank you indeed.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Salih bin Sheikh, please.
Okay, so hello everyone. Hello, sir. Let me make my camera on.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, so.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Karen. Thank you to accept our teacher's invitation and be a part and our guest for our seminar today. thank you for sharing with us some information about cultures, diverse cultures, and diversity, and students study abroad in universities and international universities. Thank you so much. But I want to ask you, as a student who wants to build a strong academic future and improving my learning skills, dealing with diverse teaching styles and dealing with diverse teaching styles. Also, how can I deal with challenges that come in the beginning when you go and you study abroad? For example, I don't know. For example, working, time management between working and studying. Like, I hope that you will answer me and mention the most difficult challenges and how can I deal with them. Also, what are the
so sorry.
Yes,
One question.
sir, I'm
Professor,
sorry,
this
sir,
is just a note. Anya and Saleh are high school students. Anya and Saleh are high school students.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Saleh. You have to ask only one question. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the last one was great, sir, but no
معلش
problem.
يا سيدي. Yes, carry on. The second.
Okay,
Yes.
so I want to ask him about what are the most important skills that you need to learn before going to study abroad. Like, you need them when you study abroad in international universities.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Oh,
indeed.
crikey! There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, all of the things that you mentioned in your first body of your question, with kind of how do you acclimatise to the new teaching style, perhaps, or the differences in teaching style, or time management, and all of those things. I mean, at this institution, for example, in the college where I am, we actually do kind of sessions and workshops on those particular aspects to enable students to transition as smoothly and as swiftly as possible, because we appreciate that people are coming from different educational perspectives, different cultural perspectives, and we don't wish to assume that people know how it's going to work here. And so we have sessions that kind of say these are the expectations of the institution, this is what the university will expect of you, but this is also what you can expect of the university. So we can aid that transition. I mean, time management is always going to be a fun one. I think always kind of degree courses, and certainly here, Cambridge is always kind of seen as quite intense. It's a practical time management course. You have to work out how to do it. But also, it's kind of a lot of it is you work back from the deadline and work out how much you've got to do in order to do it. But also, whilst having a healthy balance. You shouldn't be just doing work. You should be kind of then benefiting from the experience as well. But again, there's also support, or there should be support at the institution to help you navigate that. In terms with your final part of your question, with respect to how can you best prepare, I think a lot of it is going to be dependent on, well, where are you going, what are you going to be doing, what are the expectations of the course, which country are you going to, so you can kind of familiarise yourself before you go as to what the expectations are going to be. A lot of universities then send out information or maybe do kind of webinars or sessions prior to the start of the academic year so that you can essentially be onboarded and start to transition. But start to think, I mean, it is a huge thing. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to study overseas. I studied overseas for a year when I was doing my undergraduate degree. I studied in Germany for a year. And it's a wonderful thing to study abroad, but it is also a challenge. And I think it's just being aware that there are going to be challenges, and sometimes it is going to be tough, but you're going to have a network of friends that you're going to make at the university. There's going to be kind of then the lecturers and tutors there to help you navigate these challenges. And of course, you still have your family and your friends back home as well, who are still an important source of support as you navigate the new future. But it's a wonderful opportunity, but kind of look for the kind of the information that the university gives you to help you to transition, but also seek that support out as well once you get there so that you can transition swiftly and successfully.
Thank you,
Nice.
sir.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much. Yes, I will take some more high school students' questions. I think Arij, please.
Okay,
Yes,
just a
Alice.
minute. So, hello, Professor. Thank you
Hello.
for your interesting presentation and joining us for our seminar of today. And I have only one question is, what is the most effective way for teachers to build good culture understanding between students from different backgrounds?
Oh, very good question. Very good question. It is something I always kind of like to explore in the course that I teach in the summer, because I usually have a course of a student, say 15, 16 students in the particular class I take. We'll have, say, 60 students on the program, and we'll have students from around the globe as well, doing different things. And it is just kind of setting the ground rules in the classroom, that we're all there, it's a supportive environment. We have the aims of the only aim of the program is to give the students the best possible start before they formally start at the university, and just to go, whilst we'll all have some awareness of different cultures, we may not know everything, and in fact won't know everything, and where we can use this opportunity also to share different perspectives, to challenge different perspectives. If you've come from one particular system and one particular viewpoint, you may not be aware of different perspectives on it or different approaches. And so being open to view things from different ways, and to have your own views challenged, and to set those as ground rules for kind of an inclusive experience where everybody feels that they can contribute without fear of judgment or anything like that. That once you've kind of set that up, you'll generally find that people feel a lot more confident communicating and sharing and challenging others, and therefore enriching that conversation. I have to say that I always see a huge privilege of the role that I take is that whilst I've been doing it now for the past almost 20 years, and I've met people from many different parts of the world, it's always a privilege to learn different perspectives, to learn from new angles, different aspects, and things that I might not have come across before. So it's a learning experience on both sides. But it's important that we all take that opportunity to learn about kind of different cultures, their different perspectives, in order to increase intercultural awareness and become more culturally sensitive and aware in how we communicate and what we do.
Nice, thank you indeed. Yes, Maryam.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for accepting our dear professor's invention, and thank you, Professor, for this invention. It's a great honor for us. Thank you, my dear. It's a great privilege to speak with you, and I'm very interested in your university, and I'm truly happy to have met you. And thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I
You're
hope
most
to.
welcome.
Yes.
You're most welcome.
Yes. I hope to complete my studies at your university, and I have a lot of questions. So my questions is,
My first and last question. Maryam, please, one question.
Just two.
Yes, carry on.
So, what makes a student at Cambridge University different from other universities, and would you advise students to focus on specific skills before applying to Cambridge? And the last is, what method do you use at your university? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What was the last bit? Sorry, what?
The
I
last.
didn't quite get the last part of the question. What do we use at the university?
What method do you use at your university?
I still didn't get the key word in that one.
She's talking about the methods. Methods.
Oh,
used at
sorry.
university.
Apologies.
Methods, yes.
Methods. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, crikey. I'm not sure how we're going to get all of those in an answer, but the first one, what kind of differentiates the students who come to this university than other ones? Students who apply. I know that sounds really random, but you only get into this institution if you apply. So many people feel that they can't apply because they're frightened by its heritage or its rankings or things like that. And so a lot of it will be didn't apply. As I said, though, we do have, say, 25,000 applications for 3,000 places each year. But what the colleges are looking at when they're assessing applicants is not simply who's the best student, because people can have very good grades, very good scores, all of these different things, and maybe still not be offered a place, which is necessarily going to happen if you've got 25,000 applications and only 3,000 places. But the focus is really, because say we interview the applicants, really to see where is the greatest potential. And there isn't one answer to that. You haven't got to tick a certain box. It's who in the interviews, in their application, in their interest, in their curiosity for their subject, who shows the greatest potential that could really benefit from this institution and how it does it. And that's where that really comes into. So in terms of what skills are they looking for and other things like that, there's nothing really in particular. There's not really a checklist. I mean, obviously, you need to be kind of curious and really interested in your discipline, whatever it is you're wanting to study, and have read widely in that and be curious about it. You don't always have to have the right answers. It isn't about having the right answers. It's exploring the answers and coming to different conclusions and understanding different perspectives. In terms of how we teach here at undergraduate level, we go from lectures through to seminars, through to individual one-to-one teaching or small group teaching, depending on the discipline. So it's the big ticket stuff where everybody's together, right down to you as an individual and your particular work and what you're doing. But we're not looking for a particular person or a type, we're looking for that potential. That's what they spend the time in the interviews for.
Thank you indeed. Yes, Isra?
Thank you.
Isra? You have Isra here?
Okay, finally my turn. I thought you forgot about me.
Yes.
Hello everyone, hello, good evening. Thank you, Professor, for telling us information about this university, very interesting university. And thank you for accepting our teacher invitation. And thank you, teacher, for inviting this special guest.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Welcome.
I have two things I want to say. It's a question and it's a comment, a very cute comment. Let's start with the comments. I really, really like the accents. other than university things, and I really like the accents. It's very interesting hearing it from like an original teacher from the UK. I mean, our teacher teaches us British English. He teaches very well, and I understand it for him. But hearing it from you, it's like ASMR. It's very interesting. So
have you understood? I mean, every single word from her presentation.
Yeah, some, not all.
Not all. Not okay. Yes.
The most.
To be honest, I don't want to lie, because British accent is a very bit complicated for me. I didn't get used to a very original British accents. So. Let's move on to the question.
Your first and last question, Isra. Yes, please.
Oh, it's one. Don't worry.
Yes.
Maybe it's weird, but I'm really curious to know. Is there? You said that it's very international university. There is people from Korea, Russia, Russian people, and also Chinese people. So I want to know if there are any Algerian students. As Algerian students, I want to know, is there some our brothers and sisters there in the UK teaching or study there? And if you have you ever traded with Algerian people? And what is your first impression about Algerian people in general? Thank you so
Oh
much.
goodness, there's loads of things there. I have to say, I haven't so far had an Algerian student in one of my courses, so I can't comment so much on there. You're the first group of Algerian students I've had the privilege to speak to, and it's been absolutely lovely. With respect to Algerians at the university, though, yes, of course. I can't tell you how many, but if you do look on the university website, or I could send you through a link, you'll be able to see at any one year how many students we have from Algeria at undergraduate and at graduate level. With respect to academics, we don't publish those figures, but I'm sure that we will have people, certainly. But certainly students. We certainly will have students from Algeria here at the university.
Thank you very much. Let's move now to Mohammed Yunus. Mohammed Yunus, the stage is yours. Your question, please. 5 minutes left, Professor, to end the session. As I promised.
Hello, for having an amazing.
Okay,
thank you so
jump
much,
into the question. Hello.
Thank you so much for allowing me to ask a question. So, Mr. Ottewell, hopefully I got the name right. I was wondering, out of the most successful students in Cambridge University, which are 5 qualities or 5 aspects that are in common between those students that we should focus on having so that we can have as much success as they did? Thank you very much.
Wow. You've all got really interesting questions, I have to say. I think really kind of building on from one of the previous questions I've just had, as I say, when we're looking to kind of select students for the university, it is really that potential more than anything else. So I would say, if you're looking, crikey, five different areas, I think you need to be curious. You need to kind of want to explore things, not simply from just what's in the book or what's in the lecture, but question things. Be curious. Why is it that way? Why is it this way? Why isn't it not that way? How can we do these things? So curiosity. You need a decent work ethic, certainly. They do throw a lot of work at you here. So that's going to be something that you need to be able to, and kind of included in that was one of the previous questions, is kind of time management and how to manage all these things and get that balance. So a good kind of then ability to organize yourself and do it well. But the university doesn't only look at the academic side of you. We're also very concerned about all the sides of you. As I say, the university also has the collegiate system. So undergraduates, all students at the university are a member of a college and the university. And then there's a whole set of kind of social, cultural, other activities that go on. We have a range of societies for anything you want to do, whether it's, say, for example, the Algerian Society, the Chess Society, whether you want to play football, row, do drama, whatever it is. So you're developing other skill sets whilst you're here as well on other avenues. With a view then to looking at how you can realise all of those different things that make up your character so that you can be successful in your degree and beyond. But I would say, I think of all of those, curiosity, wanting to not just know what's in the book or how it's been done, but why is it that way? Why can't we do it a different way? Joining things and creating new knowledge. I think that's probably the key thing that would kind of be a defining factor for successful students here. But we're concerned about all of you. You're not just here to do academic stuff. You're here to kind of develop other aspects of you as well.
Thank
you. A really good question. I haven't narrowed it down before, so really good question.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed, Professor. I think we've spent 1 hour 30 minutes from your time, and I've promised you when the time is over, the time is over. I have to stop the seminar. Since we're having many questions, students. I've told you, Professor, when you've told me that maybe 1 hour would be enough to perform the seminar, and I know my students, they want to ask many questions.
I have to say, they have been some truly excellent questions, really interesting questions. It's been lovely to meet them, and some really good questions. And I still see a sea of hands in front of me.
Many of them want to ask. Let me ask you once again for accepting the invitation and for this valuable contribution that you've made at Catalyst Institute and sharing your knowledge and experience with our students. It's indeed a special day and special Catalyst monthly seminar, since we're having one of the great personalities of Cambridge University. So Professor Ottewell, thank you indeed. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for the invitation. It's been absolutely lovely to meet you all. I'm sorry that we haven't had time to answer all of the hands that are still on the screen. Yeah. I'm sure that if you ever want to arrange another one at a later point, I'm sure we can get to those people that haven't been able to ask their question. But it's been absolutely lovely to meet you, and you have had some fabulous questions, I have to say. Really good questions. And I very, very much hope that we do see some of you over here at the university in due course.
Why not?
Please do. And please, should you ever want to follow up on anything or have a contact or anything, you're most welcome to get in touch. Please do.
Thank you indeed. Thank you indeed, Professor. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much indeed. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you
indeed. It's been wonderful to meet you.
Goodbye.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
We enhance the interaction between mind and knowledge.